Hume.
Thank you, Acting Deputy President. It's with great sadness that I tonight reflect on the horrific tragedy that occurred in Bourke Street in Melbourne just last week. This is not the first time that such an attack has struck Melbourne. In fact, this is the third such incident that I have spoken of in this chamber in those 3 short years that I've been here. Despite this, nothing could possibly have prepared us for what unfolded on Friday when a man crazed with irrational hatred and hell-bent on destruction, set fire to a vehicle before embarking on a stabbing spree, before being obstructed by courageous bystanders and finally shot by Victoria Police. This man, whose name I will not dignify by mentioning in this chamber, because he does not deserve to be recorded in history in Hansard. This man injured 2 people and succeeded in taking the life of another, Sisto Malaspina. Much has been said about Sisto Malaspina since last Friday. His Bourke Street restaurant, Pellegrini's, is a Melbourne institution. His contribution to Melbourne and the lives of so many Melburnians was profound. Pellegrini's has stood at the corner at the top end of Bourke Street for nearly half a century. Sisto and his co-owner, Nino Pangrazio, were the regular faces behind the counter. They were never rushed, they're never too busy with a smile or a chow, and certainly with a cup of coffee. And like many other native Melburnians, Pellegrini's has featured in moments of my life, some seminal and others prosaic. As a truly awkward teenager, I went to Pellegrini's on my first ever date after seeing Amadeus at the Greater Union Cinema down the road, and I was desperate to look mature, so I ordered a cup of coffee, which was just so bitter. What I really wanted was a watermelon granita, and that was, in fact, my children's favourite, along with the spaghetti carbonara, which we would always have together each year after our annual visit to the Maya Christmas windows. And in fact, I was last at Pellegrini's only 3 weeks ago, grabbing a late lunch of Pellegrini ravioli after a Liberal Women's Council meeting, which of course requires comfort food after that. And I sought shelter from the Melbourne rain at the counter at Pellegrini's. And Sisto was there that day, as he was every other day. And when you read the tributes in the newspapers or on social media, you soon realise that Sisto's welcoming presence, his constance, he was so reliable, so predictable. It was as much a part of the fabric of our city as the Flinders Street station clocks or the Block Arcade or the MCG or the Nilex clocks, or Phar Lap at the museum or a W-class tram. This small, busy restaurant and its happy, generous, big-hearted proprietor will forever remain part of the folklore of my beautiful and colourful city. So my heart goes out to the family and friends of Sisto Malaspina, and I want to particularly acknowledge his business partner of more than 50 years, a man I have personally known and admired for 20 years outside and beyond the doors of Pellegrini's, Nino Pangrazio. Nino, your loss is so profound. So thank you to you and the Pellegrini's family for your beautiful and dignified response to this tragedy. Your grief is our grief and your pain is our pain. Acting Deputy President, there are some, including the Premier of Victoria, that believe that acts like this must be accepted as part of contemporary Australia, while I find such resignation unforgivable and insulting to those who selflessly risk their own lives to save those of others. And footage of the incident shows a courageous bystander approaching the attacker with a curbside restaurant chair and distracting him while police regrouped. And who will ever forget the sight of Michael Rogers, who aided police by valiantly flinging a shopping trolley at the attacker. This civilian defiance and courage in the face of extraordinary and unpredictable danger suggests to me that acts like this that seek to spread terror and fear in our citizenry, acts of unspeakable violence like those my city has been now subject to 3 times in 2 years, these acts will never be accepted as part of contemporary Australia. So I do not accept Premier Daniel Andrews' defeat. That's not my Melbourne, that's not my Australia. Sisto Malaspina's name will live on in the rich history of Melbourne, as will the indomitable spirit
of Melburnians, and the name of his attacker will soon be forgotten.